She stood nervously, flanked by Director Walia and a few other high-ranking officials. The humans had specifically requested to meet with her, which was as perplexing as it was unsettling. Her people's leaders, wise enough to recognize potential allies when they saw them, had decided it was better to let this encounter unfold without resistance. Humans were giants compared to the Valarium, nearly double in height and possessive of an undeniable physical strength that left her people uneasy. But it wasn't just their stature, it was the way they moved, like predators, their actions quick and purposeful. Even now, was she prepared to meet them face to face, the thought made her skin crawl. The transport shuttle's descent was a jagged, violent thing, more reminiscent of an untrained engineer's work than a sleek military-grade vessel. It flared with the heat of re-entry, barely surviving the stresses of atmosphere and weapons fire, designed more for raw survival than grace. Her stomach churned as it screeched to a halt, landing with a finality that sent vibrations through the ground beneath her. The humans on the ground were warriors, but they were quiet, efficient, perhaps too efficient. Some moved in total silence, lifting heavy debris or working with machinery, all without speaking. Their calmness only made the situation more uncertain. What do they want from her people? Was this an alliance or a takeover? The shuttle door hissed open and the humans froze. One by one, they raised their hands to their heads in a gesture that Miralea couldn't immediately decipher. A sign of respect? A military greeting? Her pulse quickened. As the group parted, she saw the face of the one she presumed to be their leader, Brigadier General Samantha Carter. Samantha, a woman by all visual cues, stood out from the rest with her commanding presence. Her uniform was light but ornate, decorated with small streaks of colour, one of which, blue, caught Miralea's eye. Was it a stylistic choice, a biological feature, or something else entirely? She wasn't sure, but the woman's features were soft but weathered, with sharp blue eyes that took in everything. Samantha's dark skin had a soft, sun-scarred hue, and she seemed calm yet curious as her eyes scanned Miralea and the Valarium officials. Miralea inhaled, stepped forward and performed a small respectful bow, an instinctive gesture in her culture, though she had no idea what the humans might think of it. "Greetings, Brigadier General Samantha Carter of Humanity," she began, her voice calm but thick with apprehension. "I am Miralea Zom, the FTL communications officer you've been in contact with. Welcome to Valors." The Brigadier General returned the gesture with a graceful courtesy before straightening, her translator catching her words with a slight delay. "Greetings, Miralea Zom. I apologize for the delay in our arrival. Our slip drives required considerable coaxing to make the jump. I feared we wouldn't arrive in time, but I'm relieved that we did. My fleet's artificial intelligence informed me that you have been attempting communication throughout our journey." She paused for a moment, then extended a hand, something Miralea had never seen before. It was an open gesture, the likes of which her people rarely used, but it was unmistakable. An invitation for mutual respect. "I'd like to officially greet you as a fellow being, Miralea," Samantha continued. "A handshake, interlocked hands, is a symbol of friendship and respect in my culture." Miralea's mind raced. Slip drives? Fleet AI? Friendship and mutual respect? She was trying to process the implications of such a treatment. Had the humans really travelled across the stars by forcing their weakest form of FTL travel into operation just to be friends with her kind? With her hand slightly trembling, she accepted the human's handshake. Their grip was firm, warm and steady, completely different from the cautious or forceful handshake she'd witnessed among galactic leaders. Samantha's voice brought her back to the present. "I see now why our initial communications were so confusing. The AI isn't programmed for linguistic analysis, and the one handling your messages, well, let's just say they're a bit antisocial." Her voice held a soft, almost amused tone as she explained. "We have two AIs aboard our fleet, Tommy, our pilot, and Scifi, our linguist. They're both very intelligent, but have very distinct personalities. Tommy enjoys flying and maneuvering, while Scifi is quiet, preferring to focus on her own interests." Miralea blinked, struggling to process the notion of an AI with personality. The idea was both fascinating and deeply unsettling. A machine that could think and feel? For the Valarium, AIs were strictly tools, nothing more than software, devoid of personality or emotion. The thought of a shy AI made her stomach twist. "I understand," she said carefully, though the unease in her voice was palpable. "But artificial intelligence is dangerous. You can't just let them act independently like that. It's risky." Samantha blinked, momentarily shifting uncomfortably. The translation unit picked up a soft noise, and Miralea's translator interpreted it as laughter. "Yes, we know our AIs can be dangerous," Samantha said with an easy smile. "But that's why we trust them. They're part of us, and we've learned to work together. Trust is mutual." She paused before continuing. "Tommy and Scifi are happy doing their jobs. Tommy is passionate about space travel, and Scifi is content with her media and linguistic studies. They work for us, and we work for them." Miralea's mind churned with the implications. For the first time in her life, she was faced with an entirely new philosophy, one in which AIs weren't mere tools, but sentient companions, almost like a family member. The Valarium had long seen their own kind as caretakers of knowledge, but to the humans, even their machines had agency, personalities, and roles to play. Samantha seemed to read her confusion. "I know my people might seem primitive to you, Miralea, given our technology and arrival methods, but we're not foolish. We understood the risks when we came here. We knew we might never make it back." Samantha paused and, with a soft exhale, took a knee to meet Miralea's eye level. "But this is what friends do. No matter the distance, no matter the risk. When a friend is in danger, we take that risk, even if we never get home." Miralea's heart raced. For the first time, she fully understood. "They didn't just come to fight for us. They came because they wanted to fight for us. These humans were not doing this out of obligation or duty, but out of a sense of honor and friendship. An understanding that was as alien to her as their technology, but no less meaningful." I can't thank you enough," Miralea said softly, a tremor in her voice. "The Volstrop Hive is unstoppable. We were doomed, and yet you came. You risked everything for us. Strangers. For aliens." Her voice cracked with disbelief. "I can't even fathom the cost of your journey. What is it like? Your world, I mean. What drives you to make such a sacrifice?" Samantha's smile softened as she stood up. "My world is vastly different from yours, Miralea. It isn't all savanna like Valor's. My home has mountains, jungles, deserts, and wetlands. Our people are as diverse as the environments we come from." She tapped a small wrist device and flicked through pictures of her world. "We're a bipedal mammalian species with strong family values, focused on survival and mutual support." Miralea studied the images with growing fascination, though part of her was still unsettled by the concept of a species so fundamentally different. "So, you have families?" she asked with genuine curiosity, tail twitching slightly. "How do you organize yourselves?" Samantha's eyes crinkled as she chuckled softly. "Yes, we do. We're mammals, so we reproduce through live birth. Usually a pair of adults will bond, and together they raise children. The family unit is very important to us. Our social structure revolves around close-knit families." She hesitated for a moment before asking, "What about you, Miralea? How do your families work?" Miralea smiled as she pulled up images from her tablet, showing the intricate details of Valerian family structures. 6 adults, a mix of males and females, raising eggs and nurturing the hatchlings together in a collective effort. She was proud of her people's unique approach, though part of her couldn't help but feel a pang of envy at the human concept of family. "We form in groups, 6 adults, 4 females and 2 males to care for the eggs," she explained. "Once they hatch, we ensure the younglings are raised to their full potential, teaching them everything they need to know. We all take turns caring for them." Samantha listened carefully. Her interest piqued. "That's fascinating," she remarked. "I'd like to learn more about your culture, Miralea, but for now I must ask for your help. As I mentioned earlier, our slip drives are damaged. We'll need new parts to repair them, or we'll need to find a new planet to settle on. We came with enough food and supplies for a few years, but without your help we'll be stranded here." Miralea hesitated, her mind whirling. The humans had already sacrificed so much for her people, but she wasn't trained for these. I see. I will stress this to our leadership, but the Valarium are bound by... She was interrupted by a cough from one of the officials with her, who shook his head, signaling he wished to speak, understanding the cue. Miralea spoke again. General, this is Zelmo Warmer. I believe he can explain our stance, she says, stepping back. Zelmo Warmer, a seasoned diplomat and one of the senior leaders of Valar, stepped forward with a gravitas that commanded the room's attention. His silvery scale shimmered in the dim light of the landing bay, and though his expression was calm, there was an underlying tension in his eyes, a silent acknowledgement of the gravity of the situation. General Carter, Zelmo began, his voice steady yet edged with caution. The Valarian people, while deeply grateful for your timely intervention, must also consider the intricacies of our position. Our people have lived in peace for centuries, and the mechanisms of our governance and technological advancements are... He paused, choosing his words carefully. Limited. To provide the resources and repairs your fleet requires will strain our capabilities, especially given our ongoing fight against the Volstrop Hive. Miralea watched Zelmo closely, feeling the subtle weight of diplomacy hanging between the two species. Though her people had seen the humans as saviors, the reality of shared resources and future commitments was a matter that needed delicate handling. Samantha's eyes narrowed thoughtfully as she absorbed Zelmo's words. She seemed unfazed by the weight of the challenge, her posture remaining as firm as ever. I understand, she replied after a pause, her voice steady, but I must ask you to reconsider, Zelmo. The human fleet has not come to demand your resources, we've come to ensure your survival. We offer our skills, our knowledge, and our technology to help, but our time here is finite. We can't stay indefinitely without the means to repair our ships, and without that we'll be stranded on Valos, unable to defend either ourselves or you should the Hive return. Miralea felt a surge of conflicting emotions well up within her chest. The humans had not only fought to protect them, they were offering more. The Valerium had never had to face such an existential threat, and now the weight of their decision was laid bare before her. Zelmo glanced at Miralea, his gaze questioning as though asking for a judgment. She knew what he was thinking. Her people had always valued knowledge, peace, and study, but this moment required something more. It required trust, and perhaps, if they allowed it, a change in the way they viewed the universe. General, Miralea said, stepping forward with more confidence now, her voice quieter but resolute. I believe we can offer you assistance. Though our resources are limited, we are not without expertise in many fields. We can share what we have, and I'm certain we can work together to find a solution. She turned to Zelmo, offering him a reassuring glance. We need not think of this as a transaction, but as an opportunity for mutual survival. Zelmo considered her words for a moment, his eyes narrowing in thought. Finally he nodded slowly, his voice tempered with reluctant acceptance. Very well, General Carter. We will assist in whatever way we can, but we do not do this out of obligation. We do this out of respect for what you have done for us. And perhaps... He paused, glancing back at the gathered officials, and then to Miralea. It is time for us to learn more than just numbers and equations. Time to think in terms of unity. Samantha smiled, a soft but genuine expression that reached her eyes. Thank you, Zelmo. And thank you, Miralea. You've made the right choice. I assure you, your decision will not go unappreciated. She looked over her shoulder at the rest of her team, who had been observing the exchange with quiet intensity. We'll need to coordinate with your engineers and resources, and I'd like to meet with your leadership in a more formal setting to discuss the specifics of our needs. Miralea's heart raced with anticipation. This was more than a simple collaboration. It was the beginning of something profound, something that could change the trajectory of her people's future. She was starting to realize that these humans, these warriors, these strangers, weren't just saving her people. They were offering them a new way forward, a chance to grow beyond their isolated existence. I will arrange the meeting immediately, Miralea said, her voice steady now. She felt a sense of purpose stirring within her. Thank you again, General. I do not think we can ever fully repay what you've done for us, but we will try our best to support you. Samantha nodded once more, her hand resting briefly on Miralea's shoulder, a gesture of solidarity that spoke volumes in its simplicity. We'll be allies from this point forward, Miralea. And allies don't leave each other behind. As the group turned to leave the landing bay, the atmosphere shifted. The heavy weight of fear and uncertainty had been lifted, replaced by a cautious optimism. The humans had come as strangers, but now they were more. They were friends, partners in a fight for survival, and perhaps, just maybe, the beginning of something even more profound. Miralea watched them go, her thoughts turning inward. What would the future hold for the Valaran people? Would they truly be able to change? And if so, what role would the humans play in that transformation? As the shuttle door closed and the transport system whirred to life, Miralea made a quiet vow to herself. She would do everything in her power to ensure this alliance succeeded. For the sake of her people, for the sake of the galaxy, and for the sake of the fragile but precious bond they had begun to form with humanity. The stars were no longer a distant dream. They were a shared future.